I know I've got cut all the way across there, and I can start lowering it down and know I won't be hitting anything that's a big hill and throw it off. Hi folks, it's going to be a little bit different video than the last one. The last one, everybody's clamored to see Dawn, so I made a whole hour video of Dawn. This is what happened. I go and I put Dawn on for a whole hour. I get zero money. Of course, I don't get any money at all, hardly. But I lost 3 subscribers. Dawn is poison to new subscribers. I don't know what to do. Should we ban Dawn? I don't know. You guys put a comment below and tell me. Anyway, this is more of me just putzing around in the shop. I've started working on Clark's Windy Hill Foundry castings that I went over here and helped Clark, or I stood around and watched Clark mostly, cast for my 10E rail project. So I finally started on both of those. I've got one rail, and you'll see in this video, I'm getting it trued off. I'm also showing you some other things that are going on here, an update on the Bridgeport. I'm getting ready to flake that, and I'll show you some tools and stuff that I use to do that. This may be a long video. Some people like long videos, some people don't. I tell you what I'm thinking seriously about doing. Now, I don't make hardly any money from YouTube. In fact, I went to work yesterday and did a job. I made more money in one day than I make from YouTube in a whole year last year. My wife's on me about that. She says, you spend so much time. Well, I like it and I have fun with you guys. But what I'm seriously considering doing is doing what a guy I know over on the SV Seeker, Doug. I went up there and worked on his boat for a couple weeks. He's gone to a Patreon type format where he still puts good videos on YouTube, but they're shorter, which a lot of people say I want shorter videos. So I'm thinking about putting the shorter videos on YouTube and then the long, drawn out affairs, maybe Dawn in some of them, on Patreon, and charge like he does, minimum charge of like $5 a month. Now I usually put out 8 videos. Some people, they charge $2 a video. I just need enough to keep going. But the bigger plus is, there's a lot of stuff I can't do on YouTube, like music and stuff like that just gets kicked out all the time, and I don't like their arbitrary decisions made by a computer over what I can and can't do. So that plays into it a lot too. But the bigger thing is, I'm thinking with the Patreon, I can put a Discord channel up, and you guys that are serious, we can talk. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you think about that plan. I'm not 100% sure I want to do it, but it's more work for me, but got to please the wife somewhere. Oh, speaking of wives, she made me put this in too.
Are you? She's a singing dog.
You tell them about it. Can you sit? Very good. You're a smart dog.
Well, that's the limit.
You are.
That's kind of it. Oh, she can dance.
You can beg and dance.
She's dancing.
Boy, you're one
She can dance
all
and
around
wag her
kind of
tail
dog.
at the same time.
Can you tear things up? You can. Uh-oh.
I've already destroyed this.
You want your toy?
No.
You're just going to sit here and look at me. Smile for the camera. Oh, well.
That's it.
That's
The
it.
end. The end. You want to talk, Rosie? Lick it, Rosie. Lick it.
Don't be licking my camera. Hi, folks. Welcome back. Thanks to all the new subscribers. And I just wanted to mention, if you are a subscriber, make sure you hit that notification bell and say all. That way you get notified. I mean, the last video was like 6,000 views and only about 300 came from subscribers. So make sure you hit the notification bell. Just seeing this wonderful face every day. Good God, I'd hate to do a video every day. It would get boring. The editing would be hell. Maybe I can teach Dawn to edit. No, that would be a bad idea. I'd end up wearing a tutu or something. Anyway, you might notice that the planer bed's been cleaned off of all the fixtures that I used plain straight edges. That's because I finished the 4-foot straight edge in the previous video. What I'm doing is, because I only have a limited amount of time, and there's only me, I don't have college people coming in here working all the machines to show you. I take my time and try to do batches of projects. Like right now, I need to do a lot of scraping, and that's what I was getting my scraping tools out for. I need to scrape the bed of, the table of the Bridgeport mill. It's sitting over here. I'll show you in a minute. Need to scrape the 4-foot straight edge so I can test the bed of the mill. I need to finish planing these so I can make the rails for the 10E. So lots of stuff, and I'm trying to get everything ready, get through with planing, going into scraping, because frankly, scraping's an art. And you got to get back into it and practice your body motion and stuff like that. I want to do it all at the same time so I can do it quickly. So last night I was, well, let me show you what I've got left to do. What I was doing here on the planer, I've gotten all my scraping stuff out, getting it oiled up and tuned up and ready to go. This is a biax scraper. Uses a carbide tip blade and different adjustment speeds to hand scrape the projects I'm working on. And then I have different blades for different things on all of them. Scraper blades, that's a flaker blade set, some more. And then this is a biax flaker. Now it's different from that one in that this one's motion is a linear motion. It comes out like this, back and forth, back and forth. You can adjust the stroke length and you can adjust the speed of the motor to give you different effects. But basically it's just a back and forth, sort of like a sawzall. I even thought of turning a sawzall into one time, but this one came along and I've snapped it up. Now this is a little lighter machine, but it produces, see if you can see them here, these little patterns here. These are for retaining oil, flaking. They're not very deep, but that's what holds the oil in. And if you're smart, you only flake the surface that is on top. So you'd want, like this, if this was a saddle or something, you'd want that surface to be scraped. and facing down. Because what happens is all the grit and stuff that comes on the ways gets trapped in there and grinds on your bed. So don't ever scrape things that can trap the grit. Anyway, to produce this one goes in a different motion. It has a little slide here, and when you push on it like this, it kind of goes a very little. But its main motion is a rocking motion. I don't know if you can see that. Anyway, it rocks as you push it along. I'll show you that in a minute. The reason I'm practicing is I need to flake this one. And you might notice that I've laid out the crosshatch pattern. I'll go along, this is a test piece. I'll do it one way, then I'll do it the other way. And what I'm trying to do is mimic the existing flaking on here. You can see how some of them are pointed this way, then some of them are pointed the other way, like that one. They've gone this way and then this way on it. And if you can tell, this one has still got the flaking visible all the way down. I'm just going to reflake that. That's a chromed way. I could hand scrape it and get it super perfect, but these little flakes, usually those are only about 2/10 of an inch deep. 2/10 of a thousandth inch deep. So that tells me if I can see the flaking all the way down, it's less than 2/10 off the whole thing. It just doesn't warrant. Come on, focus up. I think I've hurt my camera. It doesn't know what to do. Well, I got it back. Well, that's the project. I'm going to do this side, then I'm going to move it away from that 20-inch axis in there. And then I'll flake that side. And I've decided to go ahead and spend the time and effort into making it look pretty. Don and I got all the paint off of it. There's the knee is sitting over there. It's ready for paint. And the head's sitting right there, and as soon as these are put back together, I'm going to tear that down. I've got about $4,000 worth of parts to put into this machine. New lead screws, all new bearings, rebuilt the head, spindle bearings, everything you can replace on it, I'm going to replace. It's going to be my super personal. I'll never get rid of this one. It's like probably never ever get rid of that shaper vise. That's a big one. Going to restore it. I can use that one on the planer. This is I find I love setting up carts for each machine. These are just little cobalt stainless steel carts from Lowe's. They're hard to find. Since Lowe's switched to Craftsman and everything, and you think you can still order these, but I put a little tray on top and keeps all the parts and tools for whatever machine I'm working with right handy. This is where we are on my projects that need scraping. This is the finish on the edge. That edge is ready. The bed's ready to be scraped. And for those of you who don't know what scraping looks like, I've put down this straight edge here. This is finished, and it's been hand scraped. I take and I go ahead and paint the handles before I finish scraping them. Just keeps it easier to clean up. Also taking, I always put a threaded hole in the end of them so I can put in a screw eye to hang them by. Richard King says that was the best method he's ever found. So that's what I do. Anyway, those two are sitting there ready to be scraped, and that'll be using that tool. You don't flake straight edges, no need. These are just what comes out when you finish the regular hand scraping. Somebody asked me what those were for. Those are Dawn anti-leaning spikes. Dawn got roasted for leaning up against the side of this while it was running. Oh man, don't you know that destroys the accuracy? Oh my God. Well, this little thing weighs so much. Dawn's little puny weight, just sitting there touching it ain't gonna hurt it. Okay, now I'm ready to do some work on these rails. I've got a big planer. I got a 49 50-inch long rail that I've cast over at Windy Hills with Clark. And this is the final product. Some of the other prep I've done on them you can see up here somewhere. Got two of these rails. We need to make these into precision rails. Now each one of these rails has 8 surfaces. Bottom, 2 sides, a flat on the top, and then 2 45-degree angle, and then 2 ends. Problem is how in the heck do you hold them down to a table to machine them? I need to do long strokes. I can't put things like this on top of them to hold them down, or I'd have to interrupt the stroke, and that destroys the precision. So what I'm going to do is first off turn these over and put them in that slot there, line them up, and then I'm going to drill about a 5/8 hole in each end so that I can put some of these into the end. If I drill a hole down here, I can insert this round part into it and then clamp this down to the table with a low nut and a low stud, and so that when my planer blade comes over, it doesn't hit it. Now the only thing I'm concerned about is it going this way. Well, that's good for the ends, but you know, this thing could do like this. Well, in later parts of this operation, I don't really care about that because we'll be putting it on the flat that I plane here. But I need some way to keep this from going like this a lot. One of these, when I cast this, let me show you the pattern. Now this is the pattern I took over to Windy Hill. And even though I sanded the bejesus out of it, it still wasn't smooth enough. We had to put this foil aluminum tape on it to get it to release from the sand. It's hard to see, but when I made this pattern, this is a 90-degree angle here. And then I tapered this in at 7 degrees so we could withdraw it from the sand. And then these are 45 degrees to these surfaces. So I'm going to drill a hole here for that clamp to go in, and we want to plane this surface first. So I know that if I had some kind of arrangement like this, I could clamp that down in the middle and it isn't going to go anywhere. And I could use a square to kind of, well, I don't need to because I got a square on this. This is a square edge, that's about as good as you're going to get. So this won't work because it's too high, but this would. Do is put that there. Now the next operation I can do, I won't need these so much because I have a flatter base. Right now I'm just trying to keep this from leaning so that this angle is pretty much 90. I ever mentioned I needed a bigger shop, but my wife wouldn't let me. Got to put a hole in here for that to fit into. And I think the best place would be just in the middle of, from this dimension to this dimension, right here. Of course, this one's going to come down a little bit, but it's just for holding. And I'll probably cut those ends off to whatever length I need. So a small hole in there in the middle is what we're going to shoot for. I'm going to say, I was hoping to be able to drill this like this without having to go take it to the drill press because it's cold in that room. Tell you what, it'd be much easier with a smaller drill bit. All right, let's see what we can do now. When I was looking at these castings, I marked the square edge. This edge is at a 90-degree angle to here. So I marked it with an X. So I'm going to have to keep looking for it. So what I want to do, put that right like that in that hole. I'll put this up against it. I don't tighten it down yet. We'll just get ready to tighten it down. And we need to run a T-nut in. When we got this planer, got it from a farmer's shed up in the very north, near the border of Nebraska with Kansas. And he had some studs and hold down things with it. And one of the things is somebody had made these little sliding nuts instead of T-nuts. I got T-nuts, but I found that these work better on a plane because there's so many chips and everything that get in these tracks that a tight-fitting T-nut just, it's hard to get in and out. So I like these a little bit better. Now, we need a stud that won't go above the top of that, and that one's too big. And that one's too big. Huh. Now, let's go buy my second old parallels that you buy cheap are wonderful. Yeah, I'm going to have a problem, I can tell. If I were to do that, I'm going to have some awful skinny nuts when I'm through. So, we got a bow in it, big time. I push down on that end, it goes up on the other. So what I'm going to do is go to the other side, get set up, and let's see what happens then. One of the problems with dealing with rough castings is you really don't have a surface that you can count on as your zero. You don't have a starting point. So what you have to do is you have to make your starting point. And the way you can do that, by our good old trusty friend, the surface gauge. What I'm going to do is just kind of roughly see where things are and kind of take the mean out of it and see if I can make that work. So right there, we're just a little off of it. This end down here is just a little bit high. So I'm going to take a little bit there. That's touching there. This end's now a little bit high, but I haven't tightened it up yet. So I'm touching there, way high in the middle. I'm touching there. So this thing is bowed. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the bow out of it. I'm going to hold it to get that flat edge, and then that flat edge will become our reference. Okay. This I'm using as a reference for my flat, 90 degrees, because this is the flat side. This is the one that had the 7-degree taper on it. We're going to push that up against it. These I can tighten down because they're just stop blocks. All right. Now we've got this workpiece held where I can make it a straight, flat surface. I need to change my bit out. I've been kind of lazy in that this blade I usually use for going under dovetails on Bridgeports. But it was cutting so nice and adjusted so well that I left it on there when I was cutting the final straight edge passage. But I don't want to mess that blade up. A friend of mine made that for me many years ago. The angles are really good. Leaves a nice surface. And I'm fixing to do some mean things to this bit. So we're going to go put it up where it's safe. And we're going to get its cousin, the roughing bit, out. Now the objective of this is just to get it in there. I need to go, I can't go down very much farther with this. Let's get the stop off of it. Don's spikes in the right place. It's too high. I only got about another 1.5 inches to go down. So what I do is raise this up into the middle positions. The old screw and nut in this thing are better in that position anyway. But like most old machines, I don't really rely on that much because I put a digital on it and I could read that. Saves a lot of time and effort. Okay. As you can see, I have to remove one of Don's guards. I'm about 8 inches too tall. A machine can't wear its underwear. So I've got to lower the whole arm. And it's not hard, it's just takes a little bit of effort. First you got to unclamp all these bolts over here. And I leave this wrench there to remind me to unclamp it. Because from the top of this machine, you could see where somebody didn't unclamp it once and broke the casting. Did a hell of a weld job. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts are now unlocked. Got to go back here and get some other clamps off. Just 2 easy clamps to move. And now I need to start the machine up and lower it down. We have the phase converter running. And now I can use this 2 buttons here, along with this lever, to go up and down. Now I'm in range. I can disengage that, and what it does in that position is rapids on the motor back and forth. I don't hardly use that. Okay. You know, if I were to tape this to Don's shoulder, it'd be a lot easier on me. Now I'm going to take a few minutes to let the machine warm up. I'll bring you back. Got everything adjusted. Now I'm going to take a first pass to make sure there's no high humps. Adjust the table length by this dog over here. I don't need it to come over here. I was letting it do that to get air out of the cylinders and everything. First cut I could hear. That little boss right there. And hit a piece down there. This is why you start off and go across the whole surface. You never know where it's going to hit. I've got a cut all the way across there in and I can start lowering it down and know I won't be hitting anything that's a big hill and throw it off. There it says they're going to take off 42 thousandths. So, put it back over here. Going to engage the handle. That engages the table. Move it over to the cutting part. Turn it on to automatic feed. Take it out automatic because I didn't like that big wonk it took. I want nice even feed. I'm going to take a little bit smaller cut. Remember, I don't have a firm surface to clamp onto. I got a banana. Hard banana at that. Once I get it past the hard stuff, it's a lot easier to machine on because you got a constant cut. getting over that high spot that's out here in the middle. Now I've solved the problem of it not touching here, but we're back to another problem down here. And it's compounded by that angle in there. And I don't want to bend it down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a shim underneath here, then tighten it down onto that shim. That way it won't flex as it goes by there. And we'll get rid of all the other bows and everything. This is just going to be my reference surface. I need to get a straight on this, then everything else follows. So let's put a shim under there. Might notice I had to put another stop block back here to make it even more secure. I'm going to lose it down in that dang hole. Just watch. My gosh, Steve. If Don was here, I could blame this on him. Oh wait, I don't need him to be here to actually blame him, do I? There we go. There we go. Dinner time. Don may be coming over, so I've took appropriate steps to safeguard the shop against his in through the hard outer layer. Let's see what we've got here. Now remember, this is just the first rough cutting of this edge on the bottom. That's where I guess he called a riser came up. There were two more here, and then there was one more down here. Well, I'm nearly through all of that madness, and what I'm doing is just rough cutting all this junk out of the way. Now, this doesn't have to be a precision surface, because in this case, it's going to be adjusted from about here and about here up and down. I just want it flat and easy, help get some of this junk off the casting off of it. But this will be the reference surface to which everything else is plane to. If you remember, it's like a banana right now, and I'm just trying to get one long solid piece. I'm not trying to take a lot off because I don't want to mess up the casting, and I don't want to put uneven pressure as it's going down the track. I just want a good solid base for this, and probably got about 20-30 more thousandths to go to get below this, and then we'll finish it off. I'm just hogging it off, gently hogging it off. Well, as you can see, the surface looks a little bit different after this pass. Maybe I should explain why that is. Each one of these lines you see here is a step over. And I was manually handling that, and I went little step overs here, then a little bit wider, then little, and just kind of random going through there, just trying to knock off the edge. This crumbly edge you see right here is getting down into this space now, and that was overhanging. Same way with over here. These are getting so thin. This was just a thicker part of the casting that oversplash, I guess. Here's what's left of the riser after that pass. We're almost down to good metal. Now, Okay, we're almost all the way through that riser. And on the other end, you look here, I need to renew my bevel. This is what happens when you get the end of cast iron, it chips off. That's where putting a bevel on it keeps that from happening. Now, on this project, it ain't going to matter much because these ends will get cut off. But it's good practice. You see there, I put just a little bevel on it, and that'll stop that tear out from happening. I'll be back. Now I'm going to also take and change the angle of the bit to where it's a little more flatter. To do that, I need to move that one around. A little bit of that angle, you notice I moved a lot of it, but a lot of that has to do with the way the tool bit is held in this holder. It's not an exact fit and it will move around on you. So you can't just go back and forth. And as always, this is the dangerous part. I don't know exactly where that's going to start cutting, how deep, if there's pressure pushing up on it or anything. So I always start way off the workpiece and feed in until I establish a reference point so I know where I'm cutting. Ask me how I learned that. Now in this case, I got to be careful. I've only got about 1/8 of an inch above the top of this 246 block. So better make sure it clears that one too. Yeah, we're good there. got. See the difference in the surface? How much finer cut it is? That's all that's left of the riser right there. And that's all that's left of the riser over here. Now I can feel little humps on that thing. It's not super smooth. It's got ridges where the step over were. Now what I'm going to do to reduce that is do a spring pass on the backside. But just the difference between the two, it's the same bit. All I did was hone it on my diamond machine, change the angle a little bit in the tool holder, and got a drastically different appearance on the cut. Sometimes it's the little things. Let's go back the other way and see what it does. Start her up. Put her table motion. Run the bit a little closer to the workpiece manually over here. And put it in gear, backwards. Now, if this was going to be a straight edge, I'd have gone ahead and changed to that wider bit. But since how this is just a reference surface, it doesn't need to be anything but straight. I'm not going to take the opportunity to do that right now. I'll do that on the surfaces that matter. Remember, this piece of cast iron is sitting on this table and only being held down at the end. You can see I've got it shimmed right there. So it can spring on you if you take too big of a cut. If you take these spring passes, it greatly reduces all of that. Same way with a lathe or anything that uses a single point bit. So here we go. Run your finger over it, it's pretty fine now. Of course, your finger's pretty sensitive. Now all this stuff on the edge, this rough stuff, is just real thin stuff up here. And that's where the gate was on this side sticking out. All that'll go away when we plane that, and then we plane this side. But I'm happy with that surface being pretty straight now from experience. What I will do is I'll put that one of those straight edges over here on it before I take it off, just make sure. But pretty good cast so far. I don't see any voids. This was made by, on our trip over to Windy Hill Foundry. Clark helped me make this sucker, and Thank you, Clark.